ladies. This is the last session of the day. Thank you to all of those who have managed to give the day over to this event today. We really do appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much, Natasha, for that very inspirational speech. So I had the privilege of seeing Natasha up in Broome speaking at an economic forum last year in September. And it was absolutely incredible. I think you only had 15 minutes there, and it was an absolutely mind-blowing 15 minutes. So definitely the TED formula that Sally was talking about works. If you know your stuff and you're on point, it's a great means of getting your information across. So I know there's been a lot of takeaways from today, and certainly the empowerment, economic empowerment, obviously is something that we try to do at the Chamber. And there are many and varied ways of doing that. I'm certainly hoping that today, the start of the mentor-mentee relationships as well will help everybody in that empowerment journey. I know many of you have on the side said to me, and I'm not going to break anyone's confidence here individually, but a few of you have said on the side, I should have put my name down for a mentor. I'm like, yes, you should have, but I wasn't going to correct that for you. So I'm glad that everybody's had an opportunity to engage with each other and really pass on those very, very empowering feelings of actually, I do know what I'm here for. I've got a purpose. I am adding value, I am making a difference, and I matter in the equation. So we do have a panel, speaking of women that matter, in the audience. We have got two ladies today that are making great strides in our community, and I'd like to welcome them up here just for a short panel session. So we have Preity Dhaliwal. Preety's working career began in France, where she studied hospitality management and commenced her career as a commis chef at the age of 26. In 2013, Preity relocated to Perth, where she shifted her career to childcare. It's been a bit of a buzzword for me in the last 12 months. Ultimately finding her own family daycare business in 2015 with a dedicated team of nearly 15 staff members. Preity emphasises a collective approach akin to a village, fostering an environment where children can thrive. Preity, if you'd like to come and take a seat. And our second panel member is Rumeena Nizam. Rumeena was born and raised in Sri Lanka, migrated to Australia in her teens to pursue higher education as the first in her family. She has a strong passion for higher education equity and is a well-known advocate for regional higher education equity and equality for women in rural, regional and remote communities, as well as our Triple R Network women's advocate down here and ambassador. So Rumeena is also doing great work, not only in higher education, but also in the empowerment of women. All right, so the questions that we have for our panel members today. So the first question is, and either one of you to start, what does count her in mean to you?
Counting me? I really didn't know the right answer, but today, like after hearing everybody speak, and I thought that yes, I think the very first person I ever counted in was myself when I was in India growing up in that environment. And I think a lot of people won't even, a lot of people will find it even difficult to comprehend the kind of lifestyle we had. Like, I was born in 1977. That was like, I was talking to some teenagers. I was like, you would have been like, which era is she from? And then I was thinking today, listening to everybody else, that yes, I think I did count myself in then. And then yeah, we can't, like now we can't a lot of, like when we interview someone and we're like, yes, we don't differentiate because of the age or anything. So for me, I think that's it, like just respecting another person's like agency and just saying that, yeah, who they are and then accepting them as it is. That's what I think it is. Yeah.
Interesting take. I had to give this some thought, so thanks Jasmine for sending the notes. Counting her in, a bit like what Preity said, it was, for me, it was counting myself in, because for me it's like inclusivity. It's about everyone. It's not just about gender either. So I grew up like pretty back in Sri Lanka. It was a village environment and my mother was my inspiring woman. She included everyone. We were very blessed. We grew up in that household with servants and drivers, people who looked after. But I grew up in an environment that my mum didn't differentiate between our workers' children and us. When it's their birthday, they got a birthday party, they got cake. It didn't matter how much they made or whether they worked for us. When it came to children, we were all equal. So I was able to take that into my adult life. So when I came to Australia as an international student, I realised it's a different place. My first semester, I wasn't understanding the jokes the academics were making because I didn't get the Aussie slang. I didn't get what's funny about what they're saying. Then I realised we need to change this dialogue. It took me a while, so that's where inclusivity became my thing about counting her or him or however you identify yourself as.
Excellent, thank you very much. And has there been a situation, either of you, where you have felt that you have not been counted in?
Many times when I was living in India, but yeah, it was just, I think the way we were raised, it was conditioning. Now, then I realized like now that we were conditioned to be accepted, not being counted in was okay, like that's acceptable. So yeah, professionally, I don't know. When I was a chef, yes, again, because it's male-dominated industry, even though you're doing really good, you are always seen as a woman. And at that time, I didn't have much voice, so I think I'm just finding my voice now. I'm 47 this year, but I'd say after I turned 40, I started finding my voice and started recognizing these things. And now I think I count myself in or I just speak up. But before that, there were countless times when I wasn't counted in.
There were many times, but I think when I was young, I was naive enough to kind of think that's just how the way it was or it is. But as I got older and as I met particularly other inspiring women who actually pointed out that was not okay. And I was very lucky to have women without judging me for my colour, the accent I had, or my size. They just said that was not okay. So it's enabled me to become that woman who says that's not okay now. I'm the one woman who now in a boardroom says, oh, you want me to make the tea, why not you make it? Right? So it's a great moment. It feels good when you do that. I'm the one who says, oh, you want to figure out where to go to eat? You've got to phone Google it. Why are you asking me? Why are you looking at me? There's 9 other guys in the boardroom. Talk to them. Right? So we need to break that stereotype. I'm the one who now calls out and saying, no, I don't have to wash the dishes because I'm the woman in the room. Or, no, Kylie doesn't have to do it because she looks like she's the woman in the room. Right? It doesn't work like that. So we need to stand up. But one thing that really stood with me was, it kind of repeated since I let my hair colour grow and let it be grey. One of the times when I was young, in my first school I was working in leadership, they first celebrated the fact, first woman to be under 30 and go into Catholic education leadership. Hey, she's everywhere, she's cool, right? Then when they did a full event, this wasn't Catholic yet, I've got to point it out, however, same people were involved with this event and it was a school level event. I wasn't invited, I didn't get the invitation. And I later asked Why wasn't I invited? I was told, oh, you're a bit too young and also you're not from here, so you won't get it. So we didn't think you could contribute. I was like, oh. So you just made a judgment and made a decision, didn't even ask me whether I had an opinion, whether I could contribute. Then a similar thing happened a few months ago. I was in a boardroom and then I realised, oh, you guys got together and had a chat. How come I didn't get invited, or did I miss an email? Oh, we didn't think that women your age group would have a say. And I said, what age group is that? And they were just struggling and kind of like... And I said, well, I'm 42. I still have a brain. I might have grey hair. So I said, I refuse to support this motion to go forward because it wasn't an inclusive discussion that you had at the coffee shop. And I challenged it. But 10 years ago, I wouldn't have challenged it. So really, inspiring women, like the Triple R Network women, it's important. You've got to surround yourself with your allies. But yeah, it happens every day.
Thank you very much for that. I am going to put you on the spot because I have no idea what the time is, and just
Yeah, after I'll do a question.
Okay, excellent. So you spoke there about being surrounded by inspirational women. Is there somebody? So you mentioned your mother and her treatment of all being equal, and also coming from a colonial background. I know how that sits as well. Is there somebody that's been a standout for you in the past, maybe professionally, that has actually counted you in or has been an inspiration for you on your journey?
Professionally, in past, no. I think, I'm trying to think. I think I have this answer.
on the spot.
No. No, but I think I would like to acknowledge my sister. So if you think of my sister, like, I don't know if she was here. She's not very highly educated. She's lived in city when we were growing up. We was in a city. She got married when she was 19. She lived in the village, moved to the village, had no idea how villages work, how things work, and she was treated very badly throughout her life. And she was with me last 2 months, and she's so inspiring in her own ways. She's never worked in her life, but she's such a patient, such a kind person. And I think even though she's not a professional, but she brings so many values. So those kind of women, they were around me, my sisters, my mom, and like in family, friends. I have a very dear friend who's here as well. Just talking to her in the car this morning, like the kindness. And then I met Kristen as well. I always say I love you so much. You know. So I really this room's full of so many women I know. Now professionally I meet women and I recognize decent women, Megan. There was no mentor when I was in the business, and that's why this mentor-mentor thing is brilliant. I always thought we should have a library of people where we put our name up and we say, okay, I'm available this day, this week, you know, and then whoever wants to pick us, or we can pick you, something like that. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have anybody professional when I was going through the thing.
For me, it's Professor Julia Richardson. She's a Triple R Network woman. She's head of business school at Curtin now. She's a US citizen. She's as tiny as me. There's not many of us around. She's really inspiring. Just her approach, her leadership of all of Curtin and business education in all of WA. She's just an inspiring and inclusive woman. But then also regionally, I have some inspiring women in my network, like Shandell Cummings. She's just the way she goes about day to day. She doesn't make it a conflict. She doesn't bring her anger forward. She drives with a positive drive. Olivia Roberts, who was here, they're inspiring people. So to be surrounded by them and to be a generation of women that we can be anything we want to be, we're very lucky.
And the final planned question. Never know what's going to happen. What do you do in your leadership practice to count her in?
I always speak to like my team. I try to be very respectful. Doesn't matter how young or how old they are, and just make them feel inclusive. I try to get to kind of like come from an understanding point of view and try not to judge. And that was something I had to learn. I kind of reflected, it was a few years ago, and I said to a friend, I said, look, I try to think that I'm a good person, but I'm still judging this one particular person, and I feel so bad. But I keep doing these things, like I keep still, we still have these judgy thoughts. So yeah, I'm trying to like learn and change and improve that. No judgments, and yeah, come from a compassionate place.
Fantastic.
For me, I think took me a while to realize, because when you're initially in leadership, it's like everything, you think, oh, I know it all, I got this, I've got all the answers. And especially those of us who went to uni kind of have that brainwash mindset. I've got a degree, I know it. And then as you study further, you realise actually, I don't. I need to keep studying, and still doesn't matter how much you study. And my view of anything leadership changing, I used to think, oh, go and write a strategy, go and write a policy, get it implemented, get it changed. It needs to come top down. But as the years went by, and as I was in situations, whether in the boards that I'm leading or in organisations or in teams that I'm around, I realised it's actually not top down that brings results, it's bottom up. And it's actually not the big stuff, it's the little things. It's the things that every one of us on a day-to-day do, whether we have a leadership title or whether we don't. We can choose to lead ourselves and we can choose to inspire others to do it. But we do that in our everyday action. How do we respond? What's the language we chose, right? Earlier we talked about talking with the male language or a gender-oriented language. I consciously make a day-to-day effort to ask, Megan, how would you like to be referred to? I do that when we have orientations at the university with our students. I now do that when I interview staff or when I induct our new staff. People are happy to tell you that I like to be identified. For me, for instance, a woman. She. That's my pronoun. It's okay. We live in that generation. So it's the little stuff. What's the specific things I've done? For me, is particularly about 10 years ago, I started this process after meeting Chandel, understanding the Indigenous culture a bit more than I knew what the uni gave me. I was able to introduce into the boards that I was in that we should do an acknowledgement of country. And I consulted with Chandel and her family, etc., to get the wording right. And I said, we need to open our meetings this way. It's okay. Then when I worked at other places where I had a voice, I was able to say, you know what, if we're making a website, that should be part of the front cover. And I've been in UWA for nearly 20 years, but in this role for the last 10 months. I was able to build that practice into every single event we do at our campus here. UWA is very inclusive in terms of culturally, and we work with elders. So we're able to recognise and build that in. And Marnie, for instance, she was our inspiration. She was happy to be my case study for asking for an accessible campus. No longer it's okay to say we're in Albany, we have the most beautiful historic building as a campus, but we're not really accessible. We tick the boxes, but we're not. Marnie has to come through the staff entrance, not the main entrance. So we're able to have those conversations with the City of Albany, with the heads of UWA, with the rest of the community for these changes, because we got people around them. But it also starts with those of us who have an influential position, having those small conversations, small actions, changing the way we do things. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you very much, ladies. So that is